Right, Shalom, Shalom, Pastor Corey here, and we are doing a quick touch-up on Men in Their Helpmeet Part 3 Video B. And today the Saints had a discussion, so we're going to go out to the Saints and see why Israel is making error in just picking wives, illegitimate marriages, and all the likeness of how we are screwing up as men, as heads, not running our houses. What do you think about that wisdom?
That was shown today. I thought it made perfect sense. I think that all husbands should do the same thing, because I know for me it helps to be able to see exactly where we're going. You see the end result and you see where we are, where to start, and so it makes it easier if somebody is having a hard time seeing what to submit to. When you have the vision put out there, it's easy to say, okay, yes, I can submit to this.
Hallelujah.
So without a vision being there specifically for the wife to see, it's kind of hard to follow in a direction if you don't have a vision laid out to show where submission needs to go. And so I thought it was really good.
Brother Snow, how does that wisdom help you, man, in seeing like how to lay out and structure a house, being that we are learning about husbandry?
About husbandry? I think it speaks volumes, and the way you did in the video, or in the teaching rather, we didn't record it. The way that you laid out on the board about how you had different talents as a husband, a father, as a shepherd of Yah's sheep, so on and so forth, and really, relating that to the congregation about how men should measure themselves according to how much they are valued in the body, and how to be a good steward over the different talents that you have. I mean, you brought up the scripture about how some are given 5 talents, some are given 1 talent, you know what I'm saying? And how to be a good steward over those things. I think that was a real life example of, putting yourself in that situation, and how, different young men like myself that might not, that before you went over that, we might not have known about how to go about assessing ourselves and the different talents that we have.
What's your thoughts on today? Just, briefly, like, did it make sense?
It made a lot of sense as a woman, a girl growing up in a single parent household. Only thing I saw and said was a woman, an independent woman who had to do what she needed to do to raise 3 children. And so coming here, it completely just destroys that view of what I've been taught.
Could you see clearly if you was in under a covering like this?
Yes, because the Father lays out the instructions very clearly. Very, very clearly. So if one of the brothers would have come to me interested, and I know that through this structure right here, whatever his vision is, I'd be able to see it clearly, to see what I'm getting myself into, whatever the case may be. First wife, second wife, concubine, handmaid. I'm able to see it clearly and be able to follow once I make that agreement and go into a covenant with him. So yes.
What's your thoughts on this lesson today?
This didn't make sense. I mean, the whole structure and the way that y'all has this set up, the role for the woman, the role for the man. Like I said, I wish I knew about this, 20, 30 years ago. I've been married and went into it. I had a full understanding of knowing that if all else fails, as the man in the house, I'm supposed to provide. You know, I think we was together about 9 years. 7 of those years, I took care of everything. You know, I covered that. You know, I understood that. I saw that out of my father. There was 8 of us. You know, all from the same parents. I can even remember times back when we was growing up, we got into it with kids in the neighborhood because they didn't believe we was all from the same parents. You know, mess like that. You know, one thing I really learned from him was, you know, to work and take care of your family. But as far as him truly teaching me how to be a man, that was something that I had to fill out and learn for myself. But he wasn't there most of the time. He was gone a lot. And, you know, with this the structure, the way it's set up, you know, you have an outline and a vision for your family that you're able to put on paper and that they can see. And for your wife knowing the direction that you're going in, you know, that really helps. You know, that really helps even her in her role, you know, and having that understanding. And you know, this is for me, it's profound. You know, I wish I would have known this, and it would have made a big difference in my decisions that I made. Even then.
I ask a question, Brother Keith. What if we had 100 men who houses are structured already?
Oh, wow. You know what? I've come up in this world with what I do know. I don't even know what that would be like. I can only imagine, but I know it would be a lot better than what I've ever seen. It'd be a lot greater.
I think, Brother Keith, that we would have a nation of people. Yeah. You've been in marriage before.
Yes, sir.
Was it like this?
No, sir.
So what do you see here that makes you really realize what type of marriage you had prior?
Just order and structure and foundation. You can see where you're going. You can see, you know, if you were to fall in error, how to get back. Even looking at the chart, it reminds me of our relationship with the Father, because He gave us His order and His righteous rule, and He gave us what people call His laws. And so when He gave us, when He invited us into a covenant with Him, He gave us His laws. And when you step outside of that, you can go back and look and see where you have erred. And that is what this chart is doing. You can see where you're supposed to be, where you're not, how you can add to, or what you need to move around or change. It's a vision, and the word says if there's no vision, or where there's no vision, the people perish. So right here, you have vision.
You know, the biggest thing that I see that sisters are fearing with polygyny is that they're getting added to houses and they are becoming a mess. They're being destroyed. And so, hearing what you heard today, how can you pinpoint why those type of marriages are failing?
Because there's no order, there's no structure. Nobody can. You don't know what is expected of you. You don't know anything. You just are going in blindly, and so you just kind of it's the blind leading the blind. And when you do that, you fall into a ditch. So that's how I can see that marriages without order and structure would fail. The Most High is our husband, and He gives us order, structure, instruction on how to be a successful bride to Him.
You a man.
Yes, sir.
What type of insight did you gain?
What came to mind to me, what I received first and foremost, was that a man should be very careful about the ground that he plants his seed in. Because if you plant your seed in toxic ground, then chances are you're going to come up with some toxic seed. As you got here, you got your talents. That's what the Father gave you. A woman can't take away from that unless you give her cause to take away from that, unless you give her your strength.
Yes,
Other
sir.
than that, all she can do is add to that. as you got Sister Gabrielle's talent right here, which actually belongs to you. If you needed to add more wives to help out with different registrations, you could, but it still belongs to you. But it's for you to have your thing set up, because a woman shouldn't be able to make you nor break you. It's for you to do that.
What comes to mind when you look at your daughters? You got daughters that are going to be married one day. So how does this chart help you?
This chart helps me envision the accountability that will be had for whatever man decides he wants to choose Deacon Miguel's daughters to be in their household. Encourages me and reassures me of the security that they will have when they leave my master's house, because that's not always something that's guaranteed in the world. Something that's lacking in a lot of households when you look out. Order and security.
So what's your thoughts overall on this? Like seeing a man in the middle of this.
I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful because it's pioneer of restoration. That right there is it's restored. It's the home. It's the house. It's what the Father created being restored with the man as the head. I grew up in a single mother household. When my father was around, I won't say that she necessarily ruled over him, but it was a lot of headbutting. So maybe she was trying to. So seeing this and the man at the middle is order, is restoration.
Hallelujah. So as a woman, what does it do for you as a woman? Like, what does it do in terms of your mindset and being able to now to get behind Deacon?
It just continues to reinforce the fact that a woman is supposed to submit to her husband, and encourages me to continue to assimilate to his vision and to his vision, what he has set before him to do it, when it comes to doing the Father's will, when it comes to serving Pastor Corey. It just, again, go back to security.
What get me excited about this is that I ain't blowing hot ass air up my wife's butt. That I ain't just running around here talking, ruling with an iron fist. And because I know what I got to do. Guess what it do for me? It eliminate all the extra dead work. Just run around talking about I'm a man and I'm going around and I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You're just creating busy work. But I'm truly striving because I'm steady telling my wife these are areas I gotta be good as a father. I gotta be good in restoration because we've been lied to for so long. I gotta be a good husband to you because Yah gave you to me. So guess what? You gotta be worth more than rubies because obviously I picked you. So then guess what? I can't treat you like you less than that because now that I got you, now you ain't worth that no more. So it allows me to stay in the cycle of continually renewing this house, continually having assignments for this house. Because now we got something we're working. So guess what? In the earth, we become a set apart family. This is a set apart unit because now we teaching them that this is what we're governed by. We ain't governed by Socrates, Plato. You understand what I'm saying? We ain't governed by them. We governed by everything that Yah created, and we just functioning in that. And then He's given us even ways to leave an inheritance for our children. Right? So then what else you got to work for? Right? What's your thoughts?
Yes, sir. I thought it was powerful overall. It really showed me the error of our ways as a people and how we just fell from a standard that was set for our people and for the Father's heritage, and just lost our way overall. And so that's what it's about, trying to get back to that and be, like you said, repairs of the breach.
As a woman, have you been in any type of marital situation before?
Yes, sir.
So now, what you learning today? How do you look at that and say, okay, from a woman's standpoint, what does it do? Does it give you vision? Does it give you understanding? Is it something that now you can safely trust in, or what?
I would say all of the above. Something I can trust in if it's put on the table, and if it's a blueprint set out of, a vision, then I can, I guess, make that choice if I want to submit to that or follow that, as opposed to just kind of jumping in something and just kind of winging it, and you kind of don't know what you're doing, and you're not seeking wise counsel. You're not, you're just doing what you think is right in your own eyes, as opposed to being rooted in the Word.
What does it do for you as a potential helpmeet serving in a man's house?
I think I don't know, it like I said, it made me feel secure just to know that that's a standard, that's a setup. It would make it easier for a woman, or me personally, I think it would make it easier for me to know what I'm going into. I don't feel like it's too burdensome. If it's all put on the table.
It also exposes, where we have in the past as sisters, mothers have not taught daughters in that regard. See, I'm looking as a man, so I know that my daughter has to be prepared. So now, just me, I'm looking at, is my daughter getting that type of rearing? So I come home, if my daughter's helping in the duties, she, in the areas where it's required for me. Mm-hmm. It ain't just something that my daughter just out there in limbo. She is doing something that builds up my house by working alongside with my wife. But it also exposes where a slothful wife would be.
Very true.
Am I correct?
True. It's a measuring stick put there.
Oh, it's a measuring stick. Oh, Jesus.
But it gives you a chance to, after you are shown your error, to kind of pick up your slack and then be able to teach your daughter. So you have a standard, and then it can be passed on, because we're gonna be judged by all of those roles.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the key. So me as a man, you as a woman, we gonna be judged on our role. Did we do what we was created to do, what we was designed to do? Or did we give over our strength because we was weak in our hearts and our minds in fulfilling the will of Yah? And see, that's cowardice. Yes, and we don't want to operate in that. We want to be able to completely do all that Yah has given us. Was the teaching today useful?
Yes, sir. Very much so.
All right. And seeing that it was useful, I want you to explain. We got this chart right here on film, so I want you to explain. What did you get out of this chart, Deacon?
Well, most of all, that there's actually a structure, and there's a plan to follow through on. So you have your responsibilities or talents that have been placed upon you, and then you've laid those out as far as the delegation. And also you have the children, or the seeds that you have in place. All of this as a whole is your house specific. And it shows how many things that are spread out as far as responsibility, as far as duties that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. I think a large part of the word that was brought forth today is these are the things that a man should have in place. Not all of these, but even the minimal aspects, such as automatically you are a husband, man, in any capacity. Even if you are not married, you are already a husband. So there are things that you should already be doing as a man of the Most High Yah, as a believer, as an Israelite. There are things that you should already be doing to set forth a certain standard. And this chart is doing nothing more than showing an example of what that standard should be or could be. I think what I drew most from today is just don't despise the duty or don't despise the role that the Most High Yah has put you in as a head, as a husbandman, as a man of Yah. Don't despise it. It's going to come with a lot of hats that you're going to have to wear, but you should wear those hats and do the utmost to fulfill every duty that the Most High has placed in your hand. And it's not going to be the same for each and every man, because the Most High gives according to measure. And then him giving according to measure, there's going to be different things that each and every man should move and operate in. I look at this chart, Pastor, and there's a lot of things that the Most High has given as talents. There are multiple things. And, I'll just echo what you said earlier. You walk a mile in those shoes and you'll see just how much that pulls on a man to fulfill these roles. But because Yah looks at the measure, there's nothing more that he's going to put on you than you can actually do. So I think with each and every last one of us, we need to dig deeper and understand what our role is. We need to understand what the Most High has given us as men. Another thing I drew from it, just from the discussion that we were having, is there is a small amount. There is a fraction. I'll narrow it down to 1% of men that are actually those who are, first of all, fearing the Most High Yah. And they're fearing the Most High Yah. They're fulfilling those roles as husbandmen. Those that are actually, they're not trying to lead with doctrine alone, but are led by the Holy Spirit and the reverence, the sheer reverence of the Most High Yah, which is, in my opinion, that's what counts most in this day and in this hour that we're living in, is fearing the Most High Yah. And that's what's going to allow you and make you walk in such things as, our shepherd is walking in. In short, what Yah has placed on a man is going to filter down to the children. It's going to filter down to the seed. If Yah has blessed one with such, it's going to filter down to the seed, and you're going to have to set forth the example so that what they see is what they know matches up with the book. And what Pastor has laid out is every one of his children, his sons, his seeds, and his daughter, and showing that's where it cuts off at. That's where they begin to establish their structure as men of the Most High Yah, if they choose. Referring back to Genesis 1:27-28, your whole purpose is to go forth and subdue the earth. Yah had no other purpose for his creation than to go forth and subdue the earth, because you were his creation and that's what you were meant to do. So it was just more of an understanding on the details and the reason why you are the ones that are supposed to go forth and do that.
Okay, well, here's the last question I'm going to ask you, Deacon. We got polygyny. We got a lot of brothers just exercising polygyny. So how does this allow one to add to his house, or how does it allow one not to improperly add to his house.
In so many aspects, it's a self-sustaining structure. Because what you have is, first, the criteria. Pastor, father, husbandman, pioneer in restoration. Then you have the things that are added on to that. Tribal head, business, and then more business. So it's a foolproof structure to make sure that if you are one who desires, if you are one who has even the inkling in their mind to even approach polygyny, you got to have this in place. If not, then you're moving out of order. Because there has to be a foundation. There has to be resources. There has to be something to continue this forth. You just can't go forth practicing polygyny and not have a sound and solid foundation. Because first of all, it takes wisdom. It takes a foundation to even practice, to even handle a business. It takes that in the first place. And that's something that will prepare you to even have, let alone one wife, but two wives, or three or four or five, however many you decide to have. These are things that you have to have set in place. You know, Pastor, one thing that comes to mind, and you brought this to our attention earlier, is Noah. You know, a man that really had a lot of these things in place and practiced husbandry. No, though he didn't decide to select a second wife, he was someone that was already practicing these things with one. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And carried this over. So when you think about polygyny, you have to have this in place already before you decide to even entertain the idea of engaging in the heritage of polygyny.
Let me point something out. See, on the side of men not engaging in it before they have structure, one thing, I had my wife first in the video because one thing she came on and said is, it allows me as a wife to see where you're going. So now I can submit to what I see, and I can support what it is where I know you need support at, because you have made it known to me. That's where men are not, that's where we are ill-equipped. You're trying to add, and the women don't know where you're going. My sons can get in and know how to do polygyny if that's what they want to do, but at least they know that as a house, when the good man is keeping watch over his house, then you are doing those things which Yah has ordained you to do, meaning that we are going to be repairers of the breach. You're coming in and pioneering now in this where people have walked in Christianity for so long. Now we are coming and we believe in wholeheartedly in the word, and we're walking in the restoration of it. And because we are instrumentally going back to our tribal mindset and clans, and that's how you expand. So if one wanted to add a wife, you can easily now add another 7 children by this wife. You can add another 7 children by that wife. Next thing you know, Yah who chose you gives you now these blessings in offspring. And because you have equipped yourself in business and all these other things, now you can be where you need to be, feeding them with the heritage of Yah, being an example before them every day. That's my desire just in this structure right here, in this house. Foremost, is just making sure they see Dad on what I didn't have. I didn't have a dad. It wasn't a house. I had a conglomerate of houses because I had brothers from other fathers, and then we didn't have nobody really stay in. Then the one that stayed in, you were an example of what we see from the word, and then even in the restoration from my past. So in this, One could easily add, because here's this, and I'm going to say this and then we'll go out and get somebody else's thought. But so if a man understands this, how to have something to present to his wife, then what you do is, so how do you know if you need to add? But outside of, just like in Ezra, when he was explaining to them, do the pleasures of Yah. And when you look up that word pleasures, it's the goodwill. You know what I mean? So then if I got a goodwill, I'm a pastor. I got a lot of things to do. And I want to, see, remember the reward is in when the master returned. What did you do with the talents that you had? Did you bury them? Or did you increase them? So if I'm dealing with this as a pastor, did I increase the body? Was there healing going on? Was there a move towards getting people to live righteous? As a father, did I properly train up them in the way they should go? Well, it's other talent. I ain't just got them too. It's other stuff added. I got a wife. So I got to be a husband to her, lead my wife, and do husbandry, meaning bring in. Right? Go beat the ground. Feet got to be on the ground running. Provide. So in that, then what happens is, if this area start failing, the area that's going to keep me from having to go get a job and work for the man, and my wife ain't doing a great job at it, or if I think I need more help with it, now guess what? That's why I say, okay, now I add a wife outside this structure, or I add a concubine outside this structure, or I add a handmaid outside this structure. And then the direction is, this is what my house look like. I'm going to spend time training up my wife in this area. You're going to spend time in the homeschool area with the children. You're going to spend time doing the paperwork for Trilogy. You're going to spend time managing the taxes for this. You're going to come in and you're going to take all the phone calls for the pastoralship, and you're going to organize the events that we got coming. You're going to keep up with the calendar that we got going on. Because guess what? Yah has given that. See, he ain't abusing. It's using the wisdom that Yah has given to maintain and manage all that you are overseeing. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It does, man. And you know, in all of these capacities, in all of these disciplines, you look to the leadership to carry the bulk of the weight. You look for them to set forth the standard. You know, one thing I notice about the ministry as a whole, with the leadership in place, you always see the heads in the mix. You know, they're not just calling the shots or making the plays. They're actually influential. They're actually instrumental in making these things go forth and setting forth the standard. And I think as a head, as a leader, that's something that you always take into mind and you always set forth to do, because there's no greater way to pull in men than to show them and lead them in that capacity, in that example, as far as setting forth the standard. That way there's no excuse. That way there's no reason not to do it, because you see the person that's explaining these things to you actually setting forth and doing those things. And that's the beautiful thing about the ministry, man. You know, Pastor, as I sit back and reflect on certain things, that's what has drawn me more, is actually seeing those examples before my eyes. You know, men that not just say, but also do, and you see that. And it's a balance. You know, there's a spiritual balance. There's a balance of the word, and there's also a balance of actually busting your ass and busting your knuckles and getting these things done. And when you see that, man, it's such an encouragement. There's a grounds and there's a reason for men to actually set aside the excuses and hear. one such as myself who not only listens to the word but also looks and observe, that's a reason to go forth and do these things, because you see the examples, you know that it's possible, that it's capable to be done, and it's an encouragement, man. So I thank y'all for the ministry, Pastor.
Hallelujah.
I thank y'all for the ministry.
Hallelujah.
Because, in the same capacity that you was drawing, that's what drawing me. Because I see Pastor Dow, Shepherd Dow, going forth, and actually putting his feet to the ground and doing these things with no excuses. And that's a solid thing, man. That's something that leaves you without any recourse. There's no rebuttal, because you see it full front. And there's also other men that see it and are drawing there. So it's an encouragement. It's an encouragement, Pastor.
Yeah, well, that's good, Deacon, and that's well. We hope that people get an understanding of what's going on. We're just trying to provide more of a bridge for men to walk on, instead of just walking in their own accord and dealing in guesswork, when it truly takes men out front working and tilling. Because when you are just in the midst of, you understand that Yah has given you a great charging. When see, this ain't just made up. All of this stuff I do. And as we look at getting free and being separate and coming out, then we know that we're returning to tribes. And so then we got congregation, tribes, congregation here of all of these different things where we are restoring as a whole, as a straightway ministry. And so all of these things are coming into fruition. This is what I'm teaching my sons, how now to go and teach them properly, build solid foundations. Because a house that's built on solid ground will stand, but a house that's built on sand will fall. You understand? And so that's what we teach. So from a mindset, this is how we're trying to teach our men to operate. Don't just be making moves. And it take a while to get to this point, because it takes wisdom. It take a lot of understanding. It take, the successes and the failures. And it take, for the most part, it take you really being in tune with the Most High Yah, so you ain't falsely just putting stuff up here, but truly it is an area where Yah got you operating in, because you can puff yourself up vainly, and then guess what? The wife gonna see through that, and then she not gonna follow that. Somebody that's full of wisdom, because they see that you lead them to the bottomless pit, because you are a lie, the life you living is a lie, and you ain't worth a damn. And guess what? So nothing that you doing is going to be built on solid ground. So we're going to pause it right there. We're going to go out to some more of the saints. Bless you, D.
Bless you, Pastor.
Yes, sir. That he has just put on your hands and talent. That look at the fruit it's producing. You got people from all over the world that has come to this ministry because of you have set an example. You made a choice to submit to Yah. And in that, then you can see that all the areas that you rule in as a shepherd. And so then when you decide to go forth as a shepherd and to do the things that you do, it's highly accepted by me. I'm in 100% agreement. And that's, and as a shepherd myself who you have ordained because of the things that the Most High planted, not only in your spirit, but others as that time came upon, then now, I'm looking at carrying on that torch. But I'm also looking out and seeing what's happening, because see, you're not just a shepherd in straightway. See, people who are outside this ministry don't accept you as a shepherd because we are so overthrown by much doctrine. But all in all, restoration is happening everywhere. And so as we look out at men, we look at what men are doing, because see, we who are following the laws, the commandments, the Torah of Yah, see, we have a special place. It ain't about what everybody else doing. It's people doing polygyny all over the world. It's people doing marriages all over the world. It's people that's doing gay marriages. It's people that's doing whatever. They marrying dials and trees, and you know what I mean. It's all kind of stuff that's going on. But us who live by the Torah of the Most High Yah, we have something to fulfill, and that is doing the righteousness of Yah and making sure that that continues in the earth. And so in it, and what the Most High Yah is doing, I'll leave you with this. It's time for us, Israel, especially us who Yah is charging. He's charging us to be in order. And so if we're going to be in order, then us as men, we got to begin to retrain ourselves in upholding the standard. And that standard is that before we go out and take a wife, we need to consider the things that allow us to properly take wives so that you don't mock Yah. You mock him when you have these illegitimate marriages. And you have people who, look at people who want to be mores, and you got women sleeping with each other. Saying the Torah don't teach against it. Well, Paul sure made reference to it, women being with women and men being with men. So we got all this illegitimacy when all Yah is just asking us to be righteous. Leave your home. Be the priest of your home. And I believe we're showing it. And I thank Yah that just here, what we doing in our house, that me as a head, leading Sister Gabrielle and my children, I thank Yah that we got something to share with people on what we doing. Because that is what I sit down and talk to my children about. When we sit down and have our family talks, we start there. We can't start nowhere else. I got to teach order in my house so that you grow up in order and you know what order is. And then we prove that in fruit in how we function in order. So now as we grow, because see, I never was in a rush to be anything. I wasn't in a rush to be a pastor. I ain't in a rush to do nothing except to learn what Yah desires and see how we can continue to maximize what it is. Because my sole purpose is to lift my wife up in my house to be the best helpmeet she can ever be. I love my wife. I see the things that she has that can truly help me. And I'm also being on guard that Satan don't come attack my house in no way, shape, form, or fashion. So when my whole house know the vision, I can convict my wife according to righteousness. I can convict my children according to righteousness. Because then you know when you're out of order. You know when I'm out of order. So as a helpmeet, then, I notice my wife knows what areas to pray for when things are not moving, when things are not happening. See, that's the cold thing about having your wife on your vision. She knows where to pray and intercede and go into intercession. And then we keep stuff moving. So we praise Yah that we can share this. So I shared a lot of wisdom with all of us. Because, as men increase in these polygynous relationships, you're doing it so incorrect. You're causing much damage. You are making mockery of Yah because you just running around so foolish. Just having sex. When that chart ain't about sex. If you anything, then you should be one that's not really fulfilling the will of Yah. And everything else is secondary and last. Because in this day, we truly have, the labor was much. That's what's said in the book. The labor is much. The harvest is what's great. But the laborers is few. So then guess what? Y'all, see, this is the last thing I'm going to say. Y'all don't have no choice but to take the ones who hear him and give them multiple and many talents. Because everybody else is dead in the water. So I hope you learned something from this. Don't you niggas get on this video commenting when you don't know what you're talking about. Go sit down somewhere and let y'all use the ones that's going to move in strength and boldness. Let us get this message out to the remnant so that we can see the fruits of a nation being built right in the crevices of this wicked country and all over the world. So then when they look up, Yah has a people that he can raise up. That's our job. When we be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it. Hey, I'm Pastor Corey, the Straightway Ministries of Straightway, Kansas City. You be blessed. Shalom, shalom.